Yeah, I'm planning on kind of doing a visualization throughout class today.
Oh.
So let's start with our water.
Okay.
And let's slow down a little bit here today.
Do that.
And I just want to make sure that it's record. I think it automatically records on the cloud. So that's fine. I set it up that way. Okay. So here we go. So put one hand on your navel or both hands on your navel. And before we drink our water, let's just take a few breaths. And remember that our navel is where we first received all our nourishment from. And then we had this moment of great change in our life when we were born, and we switched from breathing and eating in effect through our navel to breathing air through our nose and eating and swallowing and all that. A big transformation in our lives. Good morning, Ruth, or good evening.
Evening. Oh, made it.
So we're going to make that transition right now, again, reenact it, and take our first drink.
I need to pin you back.
And as we swish the water around in our mouth, we're immediately absorbing some of it. And that sensation is preparing us to receive the nourishment, and we swallow, and it goes all the way down our esophagus. And from there, it's going to go through all the cells in our body. So the energy we receive from the water and from our breathing is going to nourish all the cells in our body. So just take a moment to visualize that and just notice if there's any place in your body that doesn't seem like it's receiving the nourishment that it needs, the energy that it needs, the vitality that it needs. And just make a note of that. And maybe set the intention that during class today, it's going to receive what it needs. And then we'll move on to our brain buttons, and you can do this sitting or standing as you like. So we also receive energy from the earth coming up through that point in the middle of the ball of our feet, traveling all the way up our legs to our K27 points, our kidneys being the battery that stores energy for our body. So imagine now energy coming in that direction, through the soles of our feet, up our legs, up either side of our spine, to our kidneys and to our K27 points, further energizing our body, and then tracking our eyes from side to side, seeing our world, and switching hands when you're ready. Starting to open our senses. And at this point, I'm going to invite you to take a walk. Walking is cross crawls anyway. So just a little walk. It can just be a walk around your chair in one direction and the other, or a little walk around the room. And notice connections. Connections is a theme today, we're going to revisit navel radiation, kind of a new way. So just notice your connections as you move. And then actually, I'm going to invite you to feeling those connections to do your own little kinesphere dance. And yes, you can do this in your mind if you like, but as you explore those connections, let's do it in movement and feel the connections from your navel all out into the periphery and just explore that idea of a kinesphere, right? That sphere around us that we fill with our energy and explore with our movement, remembering that our energy goes beyond the shape of our body. And sensing that sphere of movement allows us or invites us to fully animate all parts of our body. And we're nourishing our body because we have to use our rotation, our extension, and our flexion even going down. So we're using our full potential movement-wise. And just notice what that feels like. And when you're ready, let's go into hookups. And I found an image for hookups today that I really like. So starting from your feet, noticing the contact, feeling the contact of the soles of your feet to the floor, feeling the weight on those tripods on each feet, and imagine rooting our soles to the earth. So rooting our body, but even our souls to the earth. Finding that connection. And maybe visualizing it going all the way to the center of the earth. That connection. And then that feeling that connection rising up through the legs. We have that X, the energy traveling up the insides of the legs and the outsides of the legs to our pelvis, which receives the weight of our upper body. And we have the seed center that we've talked about, this gyrokinesis concept of the seed center, but it's also Chinese and Indian, the idea of a seed center in the center of our belly, just below our navel. And imagine there we have the seed of our light body. So the seed of the light that we have from all of our knowing, all of our experiences that we use to spread the light that we have into the world. And in our belly, can be like our incubator of our light body. So just imagine that warmth, like a womb for our own light body, to give birth ourselves to our light body and allow it to shine out through our limbs into the world. So now imagining that light and energy traveling through the rest of your body like we did with the nourishment, But this time, we nourished ourselves in the first step of PACE. Now we're going to send that light out into the world. And when you feel, if you want, you can change legs and crossing of your hands. And just continue to grow that light body. When you're ready, place your feet side by side. Open your palms out and allow your fingertips to come together on your own time. Feel the energy of negative and positive of your fingertips coming together. Integrating. Finding again wholeness, unity, integration. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do navel radiation, and I want to offer you to do it as you wish. You could do this lying down or sitting or standing as a visualization, or you can use touch to trace the navel radiation patterns. So I will talk you through all the patterns, and it's your choice. I mean, as it always is, whether you want to do it standing, sitting, or lying, and do it in whatever way is most beneficial for you today. So I guess I'll do it sitting, then it's easiest for me to see if I need to. So we're going to start from our navel, reaching out from our navel to our left leg, feeling the energy travel down our leg all the way to our feet, to the tips of our toes, to the bottom of the foot, the heel. And when you've traced that path, bring it back up to the navel. And then watch or feel or sense the energy traveling down the right leg, all the way down to the foot, all the way down to the tips of your toes and the sole of your foot, the heel, and then back up to your navel. And then from your navel around to your sacrum and tailbone, visualizing or feeling it, and back to your navel. And of course, if you're visualizing it, you can come right up your tailbone and forward to the navel area. And then we're going to go up to the top of our heads. So if you're feeling, you can go right through the center of your body up to the G20 point, or you can use your fingers to slide all the way up the front of your sternum, your neck, your face to that point, and then back down to the navel. When you're ready, You can take one hand from your navel, keeping the other hand on your navel, slide it up your sternum, slide it across the collarbone, along the upper arm, elbow, forearm, wrist, fingers, to the very tips of your fingers, to the palm of your hand, and then feel it going back up the arm, massaging if you like, or noticing that pathway through your body. And when you're ready, you can change hands and take the other hand up to the sternum, or just tracing in your mind across the collarbone, your shoulder, feeling down to the elbow, the lower arm, the fingers, the fingertips, the palm, and then back up the arm, all the way to the shoulder, across the shoulder girdle, and down the sternum to your navel. Take a nice deep breath and just notice if you can feel all those distal ends connected to your navel, like a starfish. Can you envision yourself as a starfish or a star, shining that light from your seed center out into the world? And then we're going to do those tracings of the movement patterns, our locomotor movement patterns. So let's start with our tailbone and trace from your tailbone up through your navel, all the way up through the center of your body, up through the top of your head to the G20 point, radiating out of the G20 point, and then feel the energy coming back down through the center of your head, your neck, all the way down the middle of your body. So maybe you connect with your spine, that bony, supportive structure in the middle. Let's do this twice. And then all the way down the spine to the sacrum, to the very tip of our tailbone. And then another time as we come up from the tailbone, up through the center of the body, maybe connecting with the soft inner organs and the channel of our esophagus, and maybe even allowing some movement to happen. So maybe do this in your mind's eye and allow a little movement to happen through the soft, organs of our body, up through the esophagus, up through the head, coming up through the dome of the mouth, and then the dome of the skull, about through the top of the head. Our brain is mostly water. And then back down through the liquid brain, down through the mouth cavity, down the esophagus, all the way down, maybe all the way down to the perineum this time. Perineum being the original Tai Chi pole after conception, before we actually start developing a spine, because there were millions of years in which organisms that were our ancestors did not have spines, but they did have Tai Chi pole. I can't remember the term in embryology for it, but that stretched from what became the perineum up through the center of the organism, up to the top of the head. And that was the original positive negative pole of the body. So now let's do our tracings from the soles of our feet and our toes, our feet. So imagine the energy coming up from the earth all the way up both legs at the same time. We're developing our homologous movement pattern to enhance our stability and our ability to move into action. So the energy comes up our legs, the connection travels up both legs. It meets due to the marvelous pelvis, to our navel, up the center of our body. So we could go from our pelvis, connecting with our sacrum, all the way up our spine, all the way up to the top of our head, tracing the bony structures of the body, and then maybe flowing down the dome of our skull, our jaw, connecting with the occiput, down the spine, all the way down to the sacrum, where it's going to divide and flare out into our legs and travel all the way down our legs to our feet, to the very tips of our tip of our heel bone and to the tips of our toes, radiating the connections through the 26 bones of our feet. And then let's travel up again from our feet, up through our legs, connect this time through our belly, through our organs, traveling up through our diaphragm, the dome of our diaphragm, up our esophagus, up into the dome of our mouth, up to the dome of our head, up to the top of the skull, and then back down through the liquid of our brain, through the channel of our throat, maybe opening the throat a little bit as you go, releasing any tension in the throat. The Chinese think of the conception vessel as the second vessel that's formed, and it has all of our sphincters. They talk about 20 sphincters, I believe it is. So we have a sphincter in our throat. So can we open that? And as we travel on, we have the sphincters opening into the stomach, and from there into the intestines. And there's the anal sphincter. There's the sphincters of our urinary tracts. Lots of sphincters that are some of the strongest muscles in the body. So that's one place where we sometimes store tension. We haven't talked about that, but emotional traumas, emotional events, maybe that happened even very young in our life that we never processed, can cause us to hold those sphincters. So can we allow them to open and close as they need to open and close, but not remain tense all the time? And then continuing on down to the feet. Maybe that would have been a better no, we did. I hope we did the spinal movement. Maybe we didn't. No, I think we did. Okay. Dana's forgetting what we've done. So we've done our homologous pattern from the feet to the top of our head. Now we want to do the homologous pattern from our tailbone all the way up to our fingers. So let's start at our perineum this time. And from the perineum, coming up the center of our body, up through that seed center, all the way up to the center of the body, and then dividing across the collarbone and flowing out of our arms, that heart energy, flowing out through our arms to our fingertips to make a connection with our world. And feel that connection all the way to the tips of your fingers. The tips of your fingers stimulated the growth of your arms so you could reach out into the world. And we're tracing that primordial channel. And then back from the fingertips, notice that connection from the world that we're in, all that we explore in the world, all that we sense through our fingertips. Bring all that senses back into our body, through our arms, to the center of our body, to our pericardium and our heart, and down through our diaphragm. There's a space in the diaphragm for our esophagus, and then down all the way to the base of the perineum. And now let's explore the connection from one side of the body at the time. So the connection from our left foot, from your left toes, the soles of the feet, from all that you sense from the earth. So we maybe don't think of sensing from our feet as much as we do with our hands, but it tells us so much that we need to know in order to walk, in order to stand upright, in order to have our balance. So remember, we have so much information that we gather through our muscles and tendons in our feet, coming up our legs. Our nerves are going to carry all those sensations all the way up the left side of our body, through the navel, and then up the left side of our body, out through the shoulder and our arm, connecting our left hand to our left foot, and feeling the left side of our body. We've explored the center, now we're differentiating one side. So all the way up through the fingertips, and then trace it back or see the connection from your fingers reaching out in the world all the way back to the center of your body, to your navel, through your legs, to your left toes, back to the world that supports us, back to the earth, our support from the earth. And then we'll do the same thing on the right side. From our connection to the support of the earth, from our yield and push into gravity, we're going to trace that connection all the way up through our navel, up through the center of our torso and out through our right shoulder into our right hand, out through the fingertips of our right hand, sensing the world, bringing all those sensations and that exploration back to the center of our body, back down the leg that supports us, back to the feet and to the earth. And our last pattern is to go diagonally from our left feet all the way up our leg, through our navel, up through the center of the body, to the right shoulder, the right elbow, the right hand and fingers, and feel the connection from our right hand to our left foot. And then trace that back down all the way to the left foot. Hopefully by now these it's easier to feel these connections. And then from your right foot, all the way up your right leg, through your navel, through the center of your torso, out the left shoulder, down the left arm to your fingers. And then all that you receive from your fingers, connecting all the way up your arm to the center of your body, down the center of your body, all the way out your right leg to your right finger, your right toes, and feeling the connection from your left fingers to your right toes. Okay. So, see if you feel all those connections are still there. And let's press our feet into the ground and then lift them up a little bit. Just practice pressing into the earth. And when you're ready, rocking forward on our pelvis, as we've done many times. And when you're ready, take the weight into the soles of your feet and press from the soles of your feet up to the top of your head to stand up. And take a little walk around your chair. It's good to circle in one direction and then the other direction, sort of like unwinding both ways, and then get a drink of water. I'm going to do the rest of the class standing today. But of course you can do it on your chair. And let's just start with some very gentle weight shifting. And this can be micro movement, if you like. Pressing from one foot to the other. Feeling our joints like wet sponges, warm, wet sponges, natural sponges, you know, that are really soft and silky and lovely. If you've ever had one of those, sometimes they used to sell them for putting on makeup. If you ever used pancake foundation, we had lovely soft silk. They called them silk sponges, but they were real sponges from the sea. So nice, soft, silky sponges in our ankles. Nice, soft, silky sponges in our knees, giving space to our joints. Nice, soft, silky sponges in our hip joints. We remember where those are. And silk sponges all up our spine, between all the vertebrae, allowing fluidity. And then let's put a silk sponge at the top of our spine where our skull joins at the occiput to make some space there. And then allowing our weight to shift to one leg, we're just going to rotate the foot on the floor. We've done this sitting, so we're rolling around our foot and just allowing our knee to be loose and allowing our hip joint to rotate in the hip and then reverse the direction. Put that foot down and glide over to the other side. And when all the weight is in that foot, do the rotation, rolling around the outer edges of the foot, which will naturally do a little rotation with the knee and in the hip joint. And then pause in reverse directions. And then gliding back to the center and making our feet in a narrow parallel position. So like no more than the space between one foot between your feet. And we're going to do our slow twirling. So shift your weight. The other weight is light. You rotate outward a little bit. And then you rotate the other leg inward. Shift your weight, rotate outward. Shift your weight, rotate inward. See if you can really feel that same fluidity in your hip that you did in the previous exercise. Open and close, and then reverse directions from wherever you are. Just we'll do 8 more of these steps. Hopefully you'll end up pretty much where you started. Open, shift the weight, close, shift the weight, open, shift the weight, close. Let's speed it up a bit. Open and close, open and close. Still shifting the weight each time. Open and close, open and close. Other side. Open and close, open and close, open. Can you still feel the connection from the soles of your feet out through the top of your head? And now a little faster on your own time, opening and closing. Just continue going on in one direction for as long as you like. You can bring it into more twirling like a child would do, like Sufis do. Breathing up the center of your body. And then we're going to pause and reverse and turn the other direction on your own timing, your own speed. And when you're ready, come to a pausing point. And I'm going to just talk a little bit about turning. Never done this. So there are 2 different ways that people will turn in dancing or skating or maybe even acrobats. So one method of turning that you maybe have heard of more is what is called spotting, which is if you're going to turn around, you spot and you use your focus to bring you back to the center. Now, there's another kind of turning, like what skaters will do when they're spinning, and that requires for you to do the opposite, not to use your eyes to hold yourself in a fixed spot. Instead, and folk dancers and other companies use this too. Instead, you focus on the center of your body. So you focus on that central vertical axis, and you bring your consciousness right into the center axis of your body. And as you're spinning, you disassociate from the visual field and bring your consciousness to your internal field. So that's just something when we do this turning, you can play with this. One idea would be to, use your eyes as you're turning around each time and see it. But as we speed up, that's not going to really work. So let's just try that one more time. with spinning, and it can be very slow, or if you're uncomfortable, don't do it. But I'm inviting you, if you like, to explore that whole idea of not relying on your visual field, but finding your core center, we've talked a lot about allowing the external, releasing the tension, release our external. So this is like the real proof of that. We release the exterior of our body and we totally relate to the central energy core. So let's just try that if you like. This is what Sufis also use, that kind of focus. And then find a time to pause and turn in the other direction. Okay, so we're going to now do our Qigong. And I would like to invite you, as we do Qigong, to experience it. You know all the movements. You can do them with your eyes closed, I'm sure, with your eyes open, any way you like. But your body knows the movements. So I invite you to explore or be aware of the connections as you're doing it, the connections that we spend a lot of time tracing, and that whole idea of growing your energy body, growing your light body from your seed center, which is where we start the Qigong. Imagine it as a whole visualization of all that light body growing, filling your light, filling your body, and then filling your whole kinesphere as you move. So you're creating like a light dance. Here we go. Oh, let's have some water if you haven't. Nice deep breath. Connection with the earth. Connection with the sky. Connection to your whole kinesphere. And begin. Moving into the first movement. You might imagine this full Qigong series as creating a painting in three-dimensional space. Painting, a light painting with your light body. And of course, light has all the colors of the rainbow in it. So your painting can have as many colors as you wish, or it might be all one color. We didn't look at the color wheel today, but you might have a sense of what color your light is today. And spreading and gathering in. Now we're going to step out to the side and draw your rainbow. Bringing your feet back in. Bringing that light up from the seed center, up out of the top of your head and spreading it around. Now we do rolling arms. Drawing other rainbows. And rooting our soul all the way to the center of the earth through our feet. As our fingertips radiate light out into the heavens, and our eyes as well. And as my sister would say, also the eyes in the back of your head. You can put eyes anywhere you want in your body. I can say you can imagine the eyes anywhere you want in your body. Hands come together, opening and curling. Opening and curling. Maybe your fingertips dropping shooting stars down to the earth. Receiving the energy from the sun and then dropping shooting stars to the earth. Then we're going to move out laterally, one side, then the other. Carving space. Passing the ball, this is actually called, from one side to the other. And then we're going to step out and spiral to look at the moon. Creating figure eights with our fingers. Our pelvis gliding from one side to the other. Maybe even the pelvis is spiraling in a micro figure eight from one the side to the other, around one hip joint to the other hip joint, bringing the pelvis around in a lazy eight. We're done on the chair. And then bringing the legs back together. I think this is called pushing palms. Connecting again with our kidney energy from the ground, bringing that energy up to our battery packs. The book that I use every morning calls it our jet pack. Our kidneys and kidney energy being our jet pack. I think there was a cartoon or something of people flying around with this jet pack on the back of their body that allowed them to fly. And we move into looking into the mirrors. The Chinese call this one cloud hands. There's a nice softness to that. So the rotation of our forearms is mirrored by the rotation of our hip joints and our pelvis. Micro rotation there. And then we'll step out into the lunge. Opening and curling. Uncurling and curling. Remembering the yield and push forward from the heel, backward from the toes. Changing weight, changing legs. Forward from the heel, back from the toes. Changing legs. Pushing waves. Changing weight. Feeling the connections. All leading back to the seat center. Changing legs. Pigeons flying. Changing legs. Energy from our heart goes out, and then we gather it back in. Very much like our move for unconditional love, just a different plane in the horizontal rather than the sagittal. Coming back for the punches. And then flying geese. One more. And then the arms come up. And we circle around. Feeling this movement, the whole body connecting, rolling around the center of the body, pause and other direction. Rolling around from the seat center, supported by the soles of our feet. One more. Open the arms and bouncing the ball, or Chinese cross. Shifting to homolateral. So feeling that side-side connection. And double it. Coming back to cross lateral. Feeling that diagonal connection. Right hand to left foot, etc. And finally, we'll do balancing chi. Let's do one, bringing it all the way up to the third eye. And then circling out and around, gathering one last time. And bringing it all back to our seat center, where we started from. Our incubation. So there we have it. You want to look at the colors. So a little bit different way of doing class. I just thought it might be interesting.